Chapter 1847. And these two were called Ancestor Black Wing and Ancestor White Wing by the Merfolk clan. It was precisely because of this name that he always thought that the Merfolk clan's foundation was not very strong. After all, the two ancestors were only at the War Master level. Even if the Merfolk clan had other hidden powerhouses, how strong could they be? But he never thought that there would be dozens of fake gods. There were even 5 war gods. This kind of foundation was not an ordinary kind of terrifying. Wait, you said that they have a space divine object with a time array? Qin Feiyang was surprised. That's right. But the time array is not very powerful. 1 day is equivalent to 2 days. The demon ancestor said, his eyes full of disdain. You are really arrogant. Qin Feiyang sneered. The Merfolk clan had been recuperating in the Sea of Despair for more than 10,000 years. 1 day was equivalent to 2 days, which was 20,000 years. Was this not strong enough? Of course. Compared to the castle, it was indeed nothing. After all, the rules of time in the castle were that 1 day was equivalent to 1 year. But even so, the Merfolk clan also had an advantage that others did not have. Qin Feiyang looked at the scene in the void and said in a deep voice, "What do you want to do to them? Not what do I want to do to them? What do they want to do to you? That's not right. You should ask, what do they want to do to the great Qin Empire?" The demon ancestor laughed. And Qin Feiyang was surprised. The demon ancestor said, "You should know the history of the Merfolk clan." Qin Feiyang nodded. Back then, when the ancestor created the great Qin Empire, the Merfolk clan had already existed, and their overall strength was very powerful. At that time, the Merfolk clan was also ambitious and wanted to rule this territory, which posed a great threat to the ancestor. But in that era, no one could compare to the ancestor in terms of strength or strategy. Finally, the ancestor only used a few years to sweep through the Merfolk clan. Originally, the ancestor had the ability to kill them all, but because of the benevolence of the ancestor, not only did he let the Merfolk clan go, but he also gave them a quiet place to recuperate. This place was the Sea of Despair. Moreover, in order to prevent the Merfolk clan from being attacked by humans again, the ancestors deliberately erased that part of history. As a result, later generations did not know about the existence of mermaids and mermaids. They only thought that it was a legend. It could be said that, for the Merfolk clan, the ancestors were extremely benevolent. It was also because of this that the first generation of mermaid emperors, the Black-Winged Emperor and the White-Winged Emperor, followed their ancestors. Speaking of which, these 3 could be considered as people who knew how to repay kindness. It's good that you know. I don't have to explain anymore. However, there's one thing you probably don't know. Back then, Qin Batian not only spared the Merfolk clan, but he also gave them a spatial divine item with a time array. Said the fiend ancestor. What? That spatial divine object was given to them by the ancestors. Qin Feiyang was bewildered. That's right. That's why I called him an idiot. He did this because he thought that the mermaid clan would be grateful to him. Of course, it's undeniable that the first generation of mermaid emperors, the Black-Winged Emperor and the White-Winged Emperor, were indeed grateful and followed him. However, the merfolk who stayed in the Sea of Despair were always thinking about revenge. The demon ancestor mocked. That's impossible. I've seen the current mermaid emperor. He doesn't have such thoughts at all. Qin Feiyang shook his head. You're talking about the mermaid princess father, right? He indeed doesn't have such thoughts. However, with his insignificant strength, he has no right to speak in the Merfolk clan, because the ones who truly control the Merfolk clan are the 5 war gods. You can understand it this way. He's just a puppet. The demon ancestor sneered. As you said, the Merfolk clan has always wanted revenge. Then why didn't they do it before? You should know that before entering the Divine Ruin, the strength of our great Qin was no match for them. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. Before entering the Divine Ruin, the entire great Qin only had a few false gods. As for the Merfolk clan, they had 5 war gods and dozens of false gods. Even if the 5 war gods didn't appear, the dozens of false gods were enough to sweep the great Qin Empire. It's not that they didn't do anything, but they didn't dare to. The demon ancestor said. What's the reason? Qin Feiyang asked. Qin Yuan. The demon ancestor said. It's Uncle Yuan again. Qin Feiyang's gaze trembled. Although Qin Yuan is the guardian of this continent and can't participate in the disputes of the continent, he's too strong. A strong enough person can have a deterrent effect even if he doesn't do anything. The demon ancestor sighed. In that case, it's Uncle Yuan who has been silently protecting the great Qin Empire all these years? Qin Feiyang said. What do you think? If it wasn't for Qin Yuan, the great Qin Empire would have been destroyed by the Merfolk clan. The demon ancestor snorted. Uncle Yuan, how much have you sacrificed for us? How do you want me to repay you? Qin Feiyang muttered, and his eyes couldn't help but tear up. The demon ancestor smiled sinisterly and said, But now, Qin Yuan won't do anything. How can you guess Uncle Yuan's thoughts? Qin Feiyang sneered. First, it's the snow python. When we returned to the great Qin Empire, she immediately closed the spatial gate and stopped you on the forgotten continent. At that time, I guessed that she was helping us on purpose. In order to confirm my guess, I asked Zhuge Mingyang and the imperial tutor to go to the Lu family immediately. In the end, although you rushed back, Qin Yuan still didn't appear. When I received this news, I thought about it and finally came to a conclusion. Qin Yuan and the snow python must be together now. In other words, Qin Yuan is restrained by the snow python, the demon ancestor said. Amazing. In the sky above the mountains. Hearing this, the snow python and Qin Yuan couldn't help but look at the demon ancestor in a different light. Although I don't know why the snow python did this, I'm very grateful to her. Because as long as Qin Yuan can't do anything, the great Qin Empire will be destroyed today. The fiend ancestor laughed loudly. His laughter was especially savage. Is that so? Qin Feiyang's gaze turned cold. You don't believe me? Then open your eyes and watch how I destroy the great Qin Empire. The demon ancestor smiled sinisterly and looked up at the image in the sky. He shouted, 5 mermaid ancestors come out. His voice was like a bell shaking the sky. Moreover, through the image in the sky, it was transmitted to the Sea of Despair. Whoosh! Before his voice dissipated, 5 figures appeared in the image out of thin air. They were 5 middle-aged men. Their lower bodies were not fishtails, and were almost no different from humans. However, on their backs there were 7 pairs of wings. The man in the center was 7 feet tall, and had a rough face. He wore a golden robe, and the 7 pairs of wings on his back seemed to be cast from gold leaf, emitting a dazzling divine light. It was a pair of golden wings. The 2 on the left wore black robes, and the 7 pairs of wings on their back were pitch black. Both of them were black-winged mermaids. The 2 on the right wore snow-white robes, and their 7 pairs of wings were as white as snow. They were like angels. White-winged mermaids. Who's talking? The 5 mermaid ancestors scanned the sky. It's me. The demon ancestor's figure appeared in front of the 5. Demon ancestor? The 5 raised their eyebrows. That's right. It's me. The demon ancestor nodded. Why are you looking for us? The golden-winged mermaid frowned. The demon ancestor said, The time has come. The time has come. The golden-winged mermaid lowered his head and muttered. Suddenly he raised his head and laughed. His eyes were filled with hatred as he said, Great Qin, your end has finally arrived. The 2 black-winged mermaids and the 2 white-winged mermaids were also filled with killing intent. Boom! The next moment, the 5 of them rushed out of the Sea of Despair and flew toward the state capital, Demon Dragon Island. The demon ancestor also waved his hand, and the image in the sky quickly dissipated. Immediately after, he looked at Qin Feiyang and said, This is my heavenly observation technique. Not only can I see what has happened in the past 3 days, but I can also talk to people from a distance. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice. I didn't expect that even they would become your lackeys. No, I'm just in a cooperative relationship with them. They hate Great Qin and Qin Batian. I also hate Great Qin and Qin Batian. So we hit it off. The demon ancestor laughed. A group of heartless thieves. After I get rid of you, I'll go and slaughter them all. Qin Feiyang clenched his fists. Get rid of me? Do you really think that you have the ability? Even if you have the ability to get rid of me, By then, your great Qin will have already been destroyed in their hands. The demon ancestor laughed. Don't forget that the altar leading to the imperial capital has already been destroyed by Zhuge Mingyang. They can't kill their way into the imperial capital. Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. It doesn't matter. I don't expect them to be able to kill their way into the imperial capital. As long as they kill everyone in the 9 provinces, it will be equivalent to destroying Great Qin's foundation. After all, for a country, the civilians are the foundation. The demon ancestor said. What? They'll massacre the 9 provinces? Qin Feiyang was shocked. That's right. How is it? Are you anxious now? The demon ancestor laughed cruelly. You bastards. I won't forgive you. Qin Feiyang's hair stood on end as he unleashed all sorts of god techniques and crazily attacked the demon ancestor. Haha. I knew it. You're the same as Qin Batian. You can't let go of Great Qin's civilians. And this will be your Achilles heel. The demon ancestor laughed crazily as the demon dragon art appeared and blasted towards the various god techniques. Yes, I can't let go. So you must use death to atone for your sins. Qin Feiyang used the Dao character art and rushed forward. Golden light burst out from his palm as the demon dragon art spun in the air and blasted onto the demon ancestor. Puff! The demon ancestor immediately spat out a mouthful of blood. Following closely, Qin Feiyang's various god techniques were like a tide, drowning the demon ancestor. Boom! Crack! A destructive aura spread out in all directions. Soul of life open! The demon ancestor roared as demonic flames curled around his body. The injuries on his body instantly healed. Then, he teleported and arrived in front of Qin Feiyang in one step as he roared. It's not me who wants to forgive. It's you who wants to forgive for the mistakes that Qin Batian made back then. After saying that, he punched towards Qin Feiyang. Genius memorized this site's address in 1 second. Mobile version of reading website, M. Chapter 1848. Kill. Qin Feiyang's hair also fluttered in anger as he punched out. The 2 fists met in an instant. This world suddenly fell into a dead silence. Boom. But then, accompanied by an earth-shaking explosion, a destructive aura spread out in all directions with the 2 of them as the center. Puff! Their bodies shook at the same time and retreated. Then they raised their fists at the same time and punched each other. Deity! Old Qin hasn't gone to the 9 continents yet. Give me the image crystal immediately. I will send a message to him. The voice of the inner demon sounded in Qin Feiyang's mind. Qin Feiyang was stunned. That's right. Before dawn, the space-time gate couldn't be opened. Old Qin must still be in the imperial capital. Qin Feiyang took out the image crystal and sent it to the castle. It's useless. Even if you send a message to Emperor Hong and the others now, they can't stop the mermaid clan. Because they can't enter the 9 continents. It's too late for them to go after dawn. The people of the 9 prefectures will be plunged into misery and suffering. The demon ancestor laughed wildly. Shut up. Qin Feiyang roared. The 2 collided crazily in the void. God's blood continued to splatter, dyeing the sky red. Inside the castle, the inner demons grabbed the image crystal. The divine artifact could be shared. And the image crystal was no exception. Buzz! Soon, Old Man Qin's image appeared. You are. Old Qin was still in the throne room. Emperor Hong, the emperor, and the civil and military officials were all still here. Seeing the shadow of the inner demons appear, everyone cast their gazes over. I am Qin Feiyang's inner demons. The inner demons said. Emperor Hong hurriedly asked. How's the battle over there? The inner demons said in a deep voice. The war of gods has completely begun. Everyone is fighting bloody battles. As for the result, no one can predict. Hearing that, everyone's heart sank immediately. The inner demons said again. I'm sending you a message now because I have something to tell you. What? Old Qin was suspicious. The inner demons said. The mermaid clan is slaughtering the living beings of the 9 continents. Mermaid? The civil and military officials were bewildered. The mermaid clan is not a legend. They really exist. Furthermore, they are very strong. They have 5 war gods and several dozen false gods. The inner demons said. What? Everyone's expression changed. Even Old Qin and Emperor Hong were unable to remain calm. Old Qin, after midnight, go to the 9 great provinces and take a look. If the 9 great provinces have really been massacred by them, you must endure it, and not confront them head-on. The inner demons reminded. Wash the 9 prefectures with blood. Old man Qin muttered and said angrily, how can I just sit by and do nothing when faced with such a matter? I'm not asking for your permission. This is an order. Right now Great Qin is besieged on all sides. As Great Qin's only war gods, nothing can happen to you and Emperor Hong. The inner demons said. Old man Qin fell silent. Emperor Hong asked, then what should we do? You stay in the imperial capital. Old Qin, go to the 9 great provinces. If the 9 great provinces have been massacred, immediately go into hiding. When the space-time gate can be opened, immediately return to the imperial capital. If there's a chance, destroy the Butterfly Valley's altar for me. The appearance of the mermaid clan has far exceeded our expectations. If at this time, Mu Tianyang also brings people to kill, then we will have no hope at all. The inner demons said in a deep voice. Emperor Hong said, we have already thought of this. Very good. The inner demons nodded and looked at Old Qin, who had lowered his head with a painful expression and sighed. I know that you are feeling very uncomfortable in your heart, but I hope that you can consider the big picture. After all, this battle is not only related to the Qin clan's bloodline, but also the fate of the entire Great Qin. Old Qin's body trembled. He took a deep breath and looked at the inner demons. I understand, but there is one thing that you must pay attention to. What is it? The inner demons frowned. The little prince is missing. We suspect that the water Qilin and the ink Qilin took him away. Old Qin said. What? These damn bastards, they all have to die today. The inner demon's blood hair fluttered, and a monstrous evil aura rose from his body. Following closely, he turned off the image crystal and looked at the demon ancestor in the void in front of him, killing intent surging in his eyes. Dan Wangkai. Suddenly, the inner demons shouted. Here. Dan Wangkai looked at the inner demons. From now on, all of you will refine the healing pill, bone replenishing pill, spirit sea pill, and essence soul pill for me. The inner demons said. These medicinal pills were all used to save lives. Yes. Dan Wangkai immediately turned around and walked to the altar, opening the furnace to refine the pills. The inner demons said again. The rest of you, also prepare for battle. Yes. Everyone nodded in response. Demon ancestor, let's see the true strength of me and my original body now. The inner demon smiled sinisterly. In the next moment, he put away the image crystal and appeared beside Qin Feiyang, slapping the demon ancestor's body with his palm. Although the demon ancestor had long known that there was another inner demons, in such an intense battle, he couldn't guard against them at all. Puff! With a spurt of blood, the demon ancestor smashed into the ground. Qin Feiyang glanced at the inner demons and said in a deep voice, I can deal with him alone. You go and help Zhao Tailai and end this quickly. The inner demons said, I should be the one to deal with the demon ancestor. You go and help Zhao Tailai and the others. You. Qin Feiyang was extremely angry. The two of you stay here. The demon ancestor roared and rushed out from the ground. There was not a single wound on his body. The inner demons took a step in front of Qin Feiyang and shouted without turning his head. Go quickly. In less than an hour, I promise to twist his head and appear in front of you. Haha. Sure enough, one is more arrogant than the other. The demon ancestor laughed. Courting death. The inner demons activated the soaring dragon art, took a step forward, and punched the demon ancestor. Courting death indeed. Qin Feiyang also activated the walk word technique and rushed over. You really don't listen to my advice. The inner demons glanced at Qin Feiyang, snorted from his nose, and then said, Forget it. Let's join hands to get rid of him first. It could be said that the strength of the inner demons was not inferior to Qin Feiyang in the slightest. With the two of them joining hands, the demon ancestor had no room to fight back at all. Rumble. The demon ancestor was blasted into the ground again and again, flesh and blood flying everywhere. His injuries were also getting worse. Although the demon ancestor had mastered the demonic dragon art, which was superior to the perfect divine art, Qin Feiyang, and the inner demons also mastered the return word technique. Therefore, the demonic dragon art was not a threat to them at all. The situation of the various battlefields had become white-hot. The shattered demonic dragon island was also gradually being swallowed by the sea. Unknowingly, the sky darkened. Night fell. However, the sky above the demonic dragon island was as bright as day. Other than the collision of divine power, divine weapons, divine arts and fighting souls, there were also frenzied cries. What happened? Is this all you've got? After so long, you still can't kill me. You really disappoint me. The demon ancestor was covered in blood, but his expression became more and more arrogant. His contemptuous laughter resounded through the night sky. As for Qin Feiyang and the inner demons, although they were not injured, they were so tired that they were panting like cows. The two of them looked more and more sinister. They were already giving their all. However, no matter how hard the demon ancestor was hit, his injuries could be recovered instantly. He could not be killed at all. I remember that you have mastered the return word technique, attainment word technique, battle word technique, and kill word technique. From the beginning of the battle until now, you have only used the attainment word technique and the return word technique. As for the battle word technique and the kill word technique, you have never used them. I believe that the battle word technique and the kill word technique are your real trump cards. But why do you keep them? Are you afraid that you can't kill me? The demon ancestor sneered. Qin Feiyang and the inner demons were silent. There was naturally a reason why they did not use the kill word technique and the battle word technique. It was because they could faintly feel that the strength that the demon ancestor had revealed was not his real strength. In other words, the demon ancestor had other trump cards hidden. Before they knew the demon ancestor's real strength, they did not dare to use these two trump cards. Boring. Really boring. A battle like this does not interest me at all. Hurry up and use the kill word technique and the battle word technique. Let me see your real strength. The demon ancestor laughed. You are not qualified. The inner demons said. The soul of life is at the cost of one's lifespan. I want to see how much lifespan you have to use. Qin Feiyang also smiled coldly. The two of them used the attainment word technique again and charged towards the demon ancestor at lightning speed. You are really stubborn. Since that is the case, I will force you to use your strongest trump card. Demon King body activate. The demon ancestor roared. Boom. His aura suddenly soared. Qin Feiyang and the inner demons were shocked. Not only did the demon ancestor's aura soar, but two black horns also grew out of his head. It was as if they were cast from divine iron and had a hard texture. At the same time, the clothes on the ancestral fiend's back were also torn to shreds. Two pitch-black wings appeared. Boom! With the appearance of the horns and wings, the demon ancestor's cultivation level soared to the greater success war god stage. What is going on? Qin Feiyang and the inner demons were shocked. Black horns, black wings. At that moment, the demonic ancestor was like a demon. His entire body was emitting a frightening demonic aura. The Demon King body is an assist-type divine art. It can raise one's cultivation level by a small level, and whether it is speed or attack power, it will increase by several times. Facing the current me, do you feel despair? The demon ancestor laughed maniacally. The two black wings were like the wings of a bat. As they flapped, gusts of wind shattered the sky. The Demon King body, heavenly observation technique, soul of life, eye of despair, and the demon dragon art that surpasses the perfect battle art. How many more terrifying techniques does this guy have? The inner demons were shocked to the extreme. It seems that we have underestimated him all this time. How can someone who can force the ancestor, Mu Tianyang, and Mu Tianjun to join forces only have a few tricks up his sleeve? Qin Feiyang sighed. It is not too late to realize it now. However, once the Demon King body is activated, no matter what trump cards you have, you will only be destroyed. The demon ancestor laughed. The two black horns on his head suddenly emitted wisps of black light. Previous loading next chapters. Chapter 1849. The wisps of black light were not very dazzling, but they exuded a kind of aura that made Qin Feiyang and the inner demon feel fear. The moment of true despair has arrived. You guys should enjoy it. The demon ancestor roared, and the black light on the two horns suddenly burst out, turning into two beams of light that went straight for Qin Feiyang and the inner demon. Qin Feiyang and the inner demon's eyes were solemn, and the golden light in their palms glowed. Whoosh! However, suddenly, the speed of the two beams of light increased by several times. In an instant, they cut through the sky and sank into the chests of Qin Feiyang and the inner demon. Poof! Immediately, blood splattered across the sky. Qin Feiyang and the inner demon's faces were full of shock. Even they could not react to this speed. On their chests, there was a bloody hole that penetrated from the front to the back. Fortunately, the demon ancestor was not aiming for their lower abdomens. Otherwise, this attack would be enough to shatter their sea of qi. They did not have a forbidden technique, like the demon ancestor. If their sea of qi was destroyed, this battle would be declared over. Because once their sea of qi was destroyed, they would lose their cultivation. At that time, the demon ancestor would only need to move his fingers to destroy them. Once they died, Zhao Tailai and the other two, and the blood Kirin, would not be a match for the demon ancestor. Haha. Do you know why I didn't destroy your sea of qi directly? Because I have not seen the battle formula and the kill formula. Hurry up, don't waste my time. Let's have a real battle. The demon ancestor looked impatient. A real battle? Qin Feiyang and the inner demons were silent. The demon king's body was the demon ancestor's last resort? It seems like we have no other choice now. The inner demons secretly said. Yes. Whether the demon king's body is his last resort or not, we have to fight with all our strength. Qin Feiyang responded. The two were not communicating through voice transmission, but directly communicating through their minds. There was a fundamental difference between telepathy and voice transmission. Hurry up. My patience is limited. The demon ancestor roared. The two horns once again shot out two black beams of light that shot towards the two of them like lightning. Enough of your arrogance. The inner demons roared and raised their hands to slap him. Previously, it was because of the suddenness of the situation that they did not react in time. But now, they already knew the speed of the light beam, so how could they be injured again? Qin Feiyang also struck out at the same time. Rumble! Two beams of golden light roared out like two giant golden dragons, pouncing towards the two black beams of light. From afar, it looked like two black meteorites and two golden comets were madly crashing into each other. In an instant the two met. Heaven and earth buzzed. Qin Feiyang shouted, and the despair in his heart instantly dissipated. It's useless to you. But what about the inner demons? Look at him now, how helpless and panicked he is. The ancestral devil laughed. Qin Feiyang was shocked and hurriedly turned his head to look, only to see the inner demons lying in the void like him before, his entire body emitting an aura of despair. Swish! Qin Feiyang's gaze turned and landed on the ancestral devil again, saying, I can defeat despair. I believe that he can too. As he spoke, his arm shook, and wisps of blood-red killing intent surged out from his palm. In an instant, the world seemed to have turned into a sea of murderous intent. The ancestral devil's heart was also panicking. He looked at Qin Feiyang's palm. Could that killing intent be evolved from the kill formula? Suddenly, Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the killing intent in his palm condensed into a terrifying aura. In an instant, it pierced through the sky and entered the ancestral devil's lower abdomen. The ancestral devil was immediately blasted away, and there was a fist-sized bloody hole in his lower abdomen. Blood spurted out like a fountain. So fast. So strong. The ancestral devil looked at Qin Feiyang tongue-tied. Whether it was the lethality or speed, this fleeting grace had far surpassed his demonic dragon formula. No matter what level of deity technique it is, I will not be defeated. Soul of life open. The ancestral devil shook his head fiercely, and the demonic flames surged. The shattered sea of qi, and the bloody hole in his lower abdomen, were once again repaired. Since I can't kill you, then I'll exhaust your life. Qin Feiyang's arm shook again, and thick killing intent emerged. The ancestral devil looked at Qin Feiyang's palm coldly. However, that fleeting grace did not appear. Why? You're not attacking. The ancestral devil raised his eyebrows. I'll let you see the complete form of the kill formula. The killing intent in Qin Feiyang's palm became more and more intense. It was as if a sea of blood was surging, and the killing intent enveloped all directions. Complete form. The ancestral devil was shocked. Bang! When the killing intent in Qin Feiyang's palm reached a limit, the blood fog suddenly began to condense and change. Clang! Very soon, a blood-red longsword condensed and formed. The sword was 3 feet long and 3 fingers wide. It was suffused with a dazzling blood glow, and a murderous aura that was many times more terrifying than before surged out. This murderous aura. The ancestral devil was shocked. This murderous aura was something that he had never felt before. He could not help but feel despair in his heart. This is the current kill formula. Qin Feiyang grabbed the blood-red long sword and waved it fiercely. The long sword buzzed, and a peerless sharpness overwhelmed the mountains and overturned the seas. Terrifying, it's really terrifying, the ancestral devil murmured. Before the battle even began, fear had already risen in his heart. Come on. Enjoy the despair brought by the kill formula to your heart's content. Qin Feiyang grabbed the blood-red long sword and stepped into the air. His eyes were like the blood-red long sword, sharp and threatening. Demonic dragon seal. Demonic dragon roar. Lord of all demons. The ancestral devil laughed. The 3 god arts appeared in the sky, and the demonic aura filled the sky as it blasted towards Qin Feiyang. Rotten deadwood. Unable to withstand a single blow. Qin Feiyang smiled contemptuously and waved the blood-red long sword in his hand. Waves of sword chi swept out, and the 3 god arts collapsed one after another. Blood gushed out from the ancestral devil's mouth. The demonic dragon seal that surpassed the perfect god art was instantly annihilated. This is the 6-word god art? The Tao formula allows me to have a faster speed than you. The return formula allows me to give you a taste of your own medicine. Your god art, your divine power, they will all become my means to kill you. The kill formula has the power to destroy everything. I want to ask you, what are your chances of winning? Qin Feiyang roared as his sword slashed through the sky. The ancestral devil's divine body was split in half on the spot. The ancestral devil frantically sacrificed his lifespan to repair his divine body. Consume as much as you want. The moment your lifespan is exhausted, it will be the moment of your death. Qin Feiyang went berserk, and the blood-red long sword slashed the ancestral devil's body like cutting tofu. Blood rained down, dyeing the sky red. Powerful. Truly powerful. However, the ancestral devil, who clearly had no strength to fight back, laughed even more unscrupulously. Gradually, the ancestral devil's face finally showed signs of aging. His long black hair was also gradually turning white. This meant that his lifespan was slowly approaching its end. However, he still had no intention of closing the forbidden technique. He continued to sacrifice his lifespan. Logically speaking, seeing the ancestral devil become like this, Qin Feiyang should be happy. However, his heart became heavier bit by bit. Because he had an ominous premonition. It felt like something terrible was about to happen. Qin Feiyang couldn't help but increase his speed as he waved the blood-red long sword. The sword chi tore through the sky, wanting to end the ancestral devil's life as soon as possible. Finally, as he wished, the ancestral devil's divine body was cut into 8 pieces. However, before he could breathe a sigh of relief, the ancestral devil's divine body was once again reconstructed, and his aura returned to its peak state. Is it over? If it's over, then I'll make a move to counterattack. The ancestral devil grinned. Scroll up to load next chapter. Chapter 1850. Begin the counterattack. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat, and he said in a deep voice, "What do you mean? Could it be that you were just analyzing the power of the 6-word formula?" "That's right." Ancestor Mo nodded and asked, "Do you know what's above the perfect formula?" Qin Feiyang shook his head. The formula is divided into low-grade, mid-grade, high-grade, perfect. Above the perfect divine arts are the peak divine arts. Above the peak formula, there is a stronger formula, and that is the legendary formula. Ancestor Mo said. I see. Qin Feiyang suddenly realized. Low-grade, mid-grade, high-grade, perfect, peak, and legendary. In that case, Ancestor Mo's demonic dragon formula belonged to the peak formula. Ancestor Mo smiled. According to my analysis, your 6-word formula has already surpassed the peak formula and reached the legendary formula. That's not right. Qin Feiyang frowned. What's wrong? Ancestor Mo was slightly stunned and looked at him in confusion. If the 6-word divine formula is a legendary divine formula, then our strength should be comparable to it. Qin Feiyang pondered. Comparable? Ancestor Mo frowned. Yes. Your demonic dragon formula is also a peak formula. And now, you have activated the Demon King's body, and your cultivation is higher than mine by a small level. And this small level higher just makes up for the gap between the peak and the legendary formula. But now, why can't your demonic dragon formula block my 6-word formula? Qin Feiyang said. This? Ancestor Mo was stunned. Yes, if the 6-word formula is at the legendary level, then his peak formula can definitely compete with the 6-word formula. After all, his current cultivation is higher than Qin Feiyang. Wait, could it be? Ancestor Mo's body trembled as he stared at the blood-colored sword in Qin Feiyang's hand. This 6-word formula, has it surpassed the legendary level? Beyond the legendary level, what is above the legendary level? His heart was in disbelief. Qin Feiyang also lowered his head and looked at the blood-colored sword. From the current power, the 6-word formula has indeed surpassed the legendary level. Beyond the legendary formula, he really didn't expect that the 6-word formula he cultivated would be so terrifying. Wu Tian, what kind of existence is this person? Although there was no signature on the 6-word formula, the handwriting of the 6-word formula and the pill scripture were exactly the same. From this it could be seen. The 6-word formula must have been created by Wu Tian. Wait, since the 6-word divine formula was created by Wu Tian, was the ancient castle also left behind by Wu Tian? Pill scripture, the 6-word formula, the ancient castle, they were all from this person. Also, if the ancient castle was really given to him by Wu Tian, then Song Shui must also have been given to him. Because back then, the ancient castle and Song Shui appeared together. Wu Tian, what is the relationship between him and him? Why did he give the castle and pale snow to him when he was born? Mo. Another doubt appeared in Qin Feiyang's mind. Miracle Black Tortoise World. Miracle and Black Tortoise World were also created by Wu Tian. If everything was as he thought, then he and Wu Tian were definitely not enemies. After all, no one would give the ancient castle Chang Shui and the 6-word formula to an enemy. Since they were not enemies, why did the golden small beast and the ice dragon repeatedly try to kill him in the miracle? What was the reason for all of this? Beyond the legendary formula? Haha! The demon ancestor suddenly laughed like a madman. Qin Feiyang's contemplation was interrupted, and he muttered, "It seems that I can only wait until I enter the miracle again to find out all of this." Taking a deep breath, he temporarily put down these questions and looked up at the demon ancestor. The demon ancestor, who was laughing wildly, had a face full of jealousy. Why? It's actually a beyond the legendary formula. On what basis? What qualifications does he have to have such a heaven-defying formula? I refuse to accept it. The demon ancestor roared to the sky, looked down at Qin Feiyang, and laughed. I'll give you a choice. Less nonsense. Qin Feiyang shook the blood-colored long sword in his hand, and a terrifying murderous aura rushed towards the demon ancestor like a blood tide. 6-word killing formula, 7-word formula. The demon ancestor's eyes turned cold, and with a wave of his hand, a shocking sword chi cut through the sky and collided with the blood tide of murderous aura. Boom! The two were immediately destroyed in the void. What? 6-word killing formula? Qin Feiyang was stunned. Wasn't this Zhuge Mingyang's formula? More importantly, the power of this 7-word formula was actually comparable to the kill word formula? The demon ancestor sneered. Can you listen to me now? Qin Feiyang's eyes were gloomy. The demon ancestor's 6-word killing formula was indeed the same as Zhuge Mingyang's 6-word killing formula. However, the power was completely different. Compared to Zhuge Mingyang, the demon ancestor was the sky, and the latter was the earth. The demon ancestor laughed. Hand over the 6-word divine formula. As long as you are willing to hand it over, when I rule the 2 continents in the future, I promise to treat the people well and leave some descendants for your Qin clan. No need. Qin Feiyang shook his head and said, I'm more concerned about the 6-word divine formula. No need. Where did you get the courage to say such a thing? Sever-word formula. The demon ancestor laughed. A sever word appeared in the void, and with a destructive power, it rushed towards Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang took a step forward and slashed with his blood-colored long sword. Boom! Accompanied by a deafening sound, the sever word shattered in the void. Soon, he discovered that the demon ancestor's current speed wasn't any slower than his. Just like what the inner demon said, how many more tricks did this person have up his sleeves? The 2 of them met in an instant. Boom! Clang! This was a confrontation of heaven-defying divine formulas. Whether it was Qin Feiyang's 6-word divine formula, or the demon ancestor's 6-word killing formula, they were all displayed to the extreme. In the dark night sky, the rumbling sounds were endless, and the destructive aura roared in all directions. Not far away, the inner demons who was lying in the void was completely unaware of all this, and his heart fell into a deep darkness. But suddenly, his limp hands suddenly clenched into fists. I'm the inner demons. The incarnation of evil. How can I be swallowed by despair? Get lost. He raised his head to look at the sky, and his blood-red eyes were like 2 blood moons. With a roar, a monstrous murderous aura burst out. What? The inner demons actually struggled out. The demon ancestor was shocked. Just how terrifying was the willpower of these 2 people? You actually want to use despair to make me self-destruct. You're really naive. The inner demons retracted his gaze and turned to look at the demon ancestor, his blood-red eyes full of mockery. Whoosh! The next moment, he was like a killing god, using the move formula, and the murderous aura in his hand surged, condensing into a blood-red sword and charging toward the demon ancestor. The demon ancestor's heart sank. He thought that the inner demons would be swallowed by the eye of despair. This way, he only needed to face Qin Feiyang alone. But now the inner demons had awakened, and the inner demon's strength was no less than Qin Feiyang's. In other words, once the inner demons joined the battle, the situation would immediately change. As expected, when the inner demons attacked, the demon ancestor was immediately in danger. At the same time, Sima Kuan, the woman in black, the wood Kirin, the golden Kirin, and the earth Kirin were also in danger. The blood Kirin had 2 supreme-grade artifacts, and its strength was no weaker than Sima Kuan's. So, in the face of the blood Kirin's crazy attack, Sima Kuan was already somewhat powerless. Needless to say, Tang Hai, with his terrifying speed, it was no problem for him to fight 1 against 2. Zhao Tailai's methods were relatively mediocre, but he had a spirit that refused to admit defeat, and his fighting spirit grew stronger the more he was defeated. It was this spirit and fighting spirit that made him not afraid of death, and his combat strength was at 120%. Genius remembered this site's address in 1 second. Mobile version reading website. Seeing that old man Qin had disappeared, the golden mermaid was burning with anger. This is not good. After entering the portal, he did not appear in our divine senses, which means that he has already left Yuzhou. Apart from Yuzhou, there are 8 other states. How do we find him? He is obviously trying to fight a guerrilla war with us. The other 4 mermaids also had worried looks on their faces. Split up and search. No matter what, we have to find him. The golden mermaid shouted, his eyes full of resentment. Big brother, calm down. Even if we split up and search, we can only go to 5 states at the same time. Moreover, we don't know if there are other war gods hiding in the 9 major states. If there are, once we split up, won't we be defeated by them one by one? This method is definitely not reliable. I think we should immediately recall all our clansmen and gather at Butterfly Valley, waiting for him to walk into the trap. A black-winged mermaid said. I agree. The 18 counties of the 9 states have almost been massacred by our clansmen. He will definitely not let it go. He will definitely find a way to kill us for revenge. Another black-winged mermaid also said. The golden mermaid calmed down, pondered for a moment and nodded. Okay, as you said, immediately go to the major states and gather our clansmen at Butterfly Valley. After saying that, he added, be loud, let that old man know that we are going to Butterfly Valley. Understood. The four immediately opened the portal and disappeared. All clansmen, go to Butterfly Valley immediately. For a moment, in the sky above the 9 major states, a loud roar sounded and spread in all directions. In a remote corner of Foam Prefecture, Old Man Qin stood on a ruin, his blood-stained long robe fluttering in the wind. And right at his feet, there were 3 black-winged mermaids at the pseudo-god level, all of them dead. In addition, there were dozens of villagers, but they were also dead. Go to Butterfly Valley. Old Man Qin looked at the distant sky and heard the voice echoing between heaven and earth. His eyes flashed with a bloody light. They even knew to recall their clansmen. These mermaids weren't idiots. If he continued to fight like this, he was confident that it wouldn't be long before he could kill all the pseudo-god-level mermaids. However, this was indeed not easy to deal with. All the mermaids were gathered at Butterfly Valley, and they didn't hide it at all. It was obvious. These mermaids were deliberately telling him that they were all in Butterfly Valley. If you have the ability, come. After a while, Old Man Qin retracted his gaze and glanced at the villagers who had died with their eyes wide open. He muttered, Feiyang, Emperor Hong, Your Majesty, you have repeatedly warned me not to be impulsive. But seeing such a scene, how can I remain indifferent? Old Man Qin opened the portal again and entered He Prefecture. Divine sense emerged and covered all directions. All he could see were shattered mountains and rivers, blood-red earth, an endless sea of corpses. Genius remembered the address of this site in a second. Top Point mobile version reading website, M. How sad. There are still people in this world who are so loyal to the great Qin Empire. The Golden Mermaid shook his head. Elder Qin retracted his gaze and looked down at the 5 of them. Do ungrateful people like you know what loyalty and sincerity are? You don't understand at all. And you won't understand the pain in my heart at this moment. The 5 of them sneered. Old Man Qin's gaze suddenly became fierce as he said, I dared to come here alone because I had no intention of leaving alive. Not bad. The Golden Mermaid nodded in praise. The fate of the mermaid race has come to an end. Die with the people of the great Qin Empire. Elder Qin suddenly roared, and a destructive aura rushed out of his body. Rumble. Crack. This place instantly collapsed, and the void collapsed. What? This is self-detonation. Have you gone mad? The 5 of them changed color and roared in shock and anger. Yes. Looking at the people of the 9 prefectures lying in pools of blood, I have long gone mad. Go to hell now, and repent for the sins you have committed. Elder Qin roared. Quick run. The Golden Mermaid roared. Boom. But at this moment, suddenly, 2 terrifying divine auras emerged from the depths of the Butterfly Valley. Following closely behind, 2 figures shattered the ground and rushed into the void. The 5 mermaid patriarchs turned to look at the 2 people, their faces full of shock and doubt. Elder Qin looked at the 2 people with a face full of shock. It was a man and a woman. The woman was a beautiful woman wearing a golden battle armor. Her long black hair was tied together, and her aura was incomparably powerful. However, there were cracks on the golden battle armor, and it was stained with blood. The other person was an old man in black with a scar above his left eye and bloodstains all over his body. These 2 people were none other than the mysterious Madame and Yi Shu. When the mysterious Madame and Yi Shu appeared and saw Elder Qin and the 5 mermaid patriarchs, they were a little stunned. But soon, they were awakened by the destructive aura emitted by Elder Qin at this moment. They said in shock and anger, Elder Qin, what are you doing? Elder Qin immediately stopped self-detonating and looked at the 2 with tears in his eyes. The 2 of them flew to Elder Qin's side like lightning. The mysterious Madame glanced at the 5 mermaid patriarchs and frowned. You self-detonated because of them? Yi Shu asked. Why do they all have wings? They are mermaids. Elder Qin said. Mermaids. The mysterious Madame and Yi Shu looked at each other, their eyes full of shock. Mermaids with 7 pairs of wings. Wasn't that the god of war? Elder Qin cried out in grief. They colluded with the demon ancestor and massacred the 9 prefectures. What? The mysterious madam was furious. She looked at the 5 of them and shouted, "The Qin emperor once told me about the situation of the mermaid clan. How could you do this?